Who are the people that you stay in touch with now that are kind of long gone from playing, obviously, that really have remained tight with you? You know, what's interesting about what you say is that you had six siblings and yourself to be seven, and now you had this brotherhood of teammates that ended up sort of replacing what you lost, and that's sort of phenomenal. So, who do you still consider a brother now?
Well, I stay in touch with Bucky. Of all those guys that are living, I do maintain a relationship with.
Mm.
Okay, like Bucky Dent. Me and Bucky Dent were roommates. Here's a funny story about Bucky Dent. In 1978, he hits the famous home run in Fenway Park. And then that World Series, he was the MVP. So all of a sudden, he's doing all these commercials. He actually did a movie that winter called The Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders, where he plays the love interest. So George Steinbrenner said, wow, this guy's going to become too big. He's going to be doing more commercials than Reggie Jackson. And I don't know if we can control him.
Mm.
So he says, this spring training, Ray, you're going to be his roommate. So they put me in. So they put me in as his roommate. And Steinbrenner would check every day. So one time he calls the room and Bucky was out. And Steinbrenner says, where's Dent? I say, he went out. He said, with who? He said, I knew it. And I said, boss, he's out with his priest. Because his best friend was a priest, believe it or not. And Steinbrenner goes, yeah, and I'm out with his nun. Okay. And he says, see, I knew it. I knew that I couldn't depend on you because you're always going to protect these guys.
Mm.
And the funny thing about it was that Bucky Dent, he knew, he had a feeling that George had put me in there.
To
And
watch.
to be a spy, per
Mm.
se. So to this day, he calls me the spy who loved me, like the movie.
Right, of course. Of
You
course.
know, so I stay very close with Bucky. I stay very close to Ron Bloomberg, with Willie Randolph, Daryl and Doc. Naturally,
Yeah.
you know, any of them that are alive, I like to check in on them. I like to make sure that they're, because we're losing a lot of them. We're
Yeah.
losing a lot of them, and we lost Catfish Hunter and guys like this. My wonderful manager Billy Martin, who was truly, truly like a father to me.
Mm.
When I was going through a difficult period. I mean, going into Yankee Stadium was no day at the beach at the beginning because I
Mm.
was the first person of color to work there, and there was that security guy that was with the boss that day.
Mm-hmm.
He was a really let me put it to you this way: he was a very bad man. The worst thing that I can say about somebody is that they're a bad man. When I say that, that means they're a total piece of garbage. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy was a piece of garbage. And anytime that Mr. Steinbrenner was out of town, he would look for me and harass me.
Oh.
And one time he grabbed me off the field because I used to practice with the team. Mr. Steinbrenner had set it up so that I could always practice with the team because he knew I was a player.
Mm-hmm.
And so this guy went and dragged me off the field, took me into the visitors' locker room, to the back of the locker room where all the shoes were, and said, shine the shoes. Your people are very good at that.
Oh.
And when that happened, and when that happened, uh, the great coach, Elston Howard, who was the first black Yankee, went in like to take care of business. He saw what the guy, he found out what the guy was doing to me, and he went and got me out of there and went and told the boss and Billy what had happened. And so Billy Martin, like when I said, if I was white, this wouldn't happen to me. I wish I wasn't white. I mean, I wish I would have been white instead
Mm.
of, and when I said that, Billy was so angry
Mm.
because he was just angry. And 2 days later, he took me to a restaurant in the city called Patsy's.
I've been.
Okay. And there, that I got to meet Frank Sinatra. And Billy embarrassed me by telling Mr. Sinatra what had happened and what I said. And Mr. Sinatra, who was a lot like Billy Martin, they were the same. And he jumped my ass like you wouldn't believe. He literally made me cry from the standpoint of you be proud of who you are. You be proud of your people. You be proud of everything that your people have accomplished in a short time in this country, in this world's history. I mean, he just hammered, and I was so angry and sad and hurt. But then I really got to love Mr. Sinatra.
Yeah.
And he, he was Frank Sinatra. And, and yet he treated me like I was one of the Rat Pack.
Right.
I mean, you walk into Passage, you go into the second floor, they keep a portrait of our first meeting there.
Oh, wow.
Next time you go to Patsy's, go to the second floor and ask Sal where the picture is.
I was going to say, so Patsy's is still there, huh?
56 and Broadway.
I was going to say 56, 57. My grandparents, I think you're too young for this, but my grandparents owned El Morocco.
I heard of it. I never saw it, but I had heard of it.
And they were great friends with Frank and, all the
crew.
guys, the
Jilly
crew.
Rizzo and the crew.
Yeah, and they would all come to El Morocco and they'd perform there, and they all went to Patsy's together. So that's how I, as a young kid, would, my grandparents would bring me there. And as I got older, I would go there and they would put my bill on the tab. And, I thought it was so cool as a young kid to go over there and have this tab there and know everyone there and just be taken care of because of my association with my grandparents. So I love hearing that memory with you as well from there.
No, it was a wonderful. It is every time I walk in. Like people always ask me, why do you like coming to Patsy's? I say, I come because I come to visit the spirits. I know the spirits are here.
That's right.
And I always insist to go upstairs to Mr. Sinatra's corner.
Yeah, I love it. I want to talk about your overarching theme. I mean, everything you do kind of, they center around themes of hope and redemption and second chances. You see it in the books that you've written. You see it in your philanthropy work. Can you talk a little bit about that? Tell us about how you decided to get into authoring books and writing books and what you do now with the kids.
My literary hero was Ernest Hemingway. And it was because I initially saw a movie called The Old Man and the Sea. And so I read the book in school, and they talk about Joe DiMaggio in the story. And so naturally, Joe DiMaggio, Yankees, and so that got me into it. And then after that, I saw a movie called The Pride of the Yankees. And the star was Gary Cooper, who was fantastic. He was wonderful. And so I learned a lot about Gary Cooper and found out that his best friend was Ernest Hemingway. So that right there, I always said I started writing as a little kid, and I would write, and then I got to meet the sports writers, and I got to learn from them about writing, and that's how the habit started. I call it a habit because that's what it is. I just love writing the aspect of my history. I can't write about you, but I can write about things that I have lived.
Sure.
And what was your question again?
No, well, you're doing a good job. I was asking now, how do you interact with the kids? I know you do a lot of work with kids now, and sort of talking about the importance of being given an opportunity and second chances.
Well, anyways, it's just that I know how blessed I have been.
Mm-hmm.
I know what this man did for me.
Yeah.
I know how important it is to be able to do for someone, how the country could be better
Mm.
if someone just cared a little more.
Yeah.
Because I know I wouldn't be, I'm not saying that I'm Mother Teresa or anybody, okay? But I know that I'm a better person because of what Mr. Steinbrenner did for me, for what Billy Martin did for me, for what Thurman Munson did for me, for what Reggie did for me. You know, I mean, it took all of them to help me today.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
know, I used to drive Thurman Munson, the great Yankee catcher and captain, to the airport because he used to fly his own plane so that he can go home and tuck his kids to bed. Okay, that was the inspiration in him learning how to fly.
Mm.
Okay, and on our drives to Teterboro Airport, we always talked about our real fathers
Mm.
and the fact that our fathers had given up on us. The fact that they didn't that they showed that they didn't care or take the time to care,
Right.
and that that was we literally cried together over this.
Mm.
Okay. And the last time that I saw Thurman Munson before his airplane crash,
Mm-hmm.
like he was trying to talk me into going to Canton with him one night. And I was like always I was afraid. I didn't want to get on no little plane,
Yeah.
you know? And so anyway, the last thing he said to me was like he says, I said, I don't know how you do this.
Mm.
And he said, when you have children, after what we have lived, Ray, think about what we have lived. So that when you have your own kids, you'll understand what you have to do.
Yeah.
And he said, promise me something, would you? And I said, what? Promise me that when you have kids, you'll be the best dad ever. And that I took from him.
Right. How many kids do you have?
I have 4 kids, and ironically, 2 of them are police officers.
Oh, wow.
One of them has delivered 5 babies.
No way.
They call him the baby whisperer. He did Good Morning America, all the shows.
Wow.
With one of the
You mean as a police officer he delivered them?
yes, yes, yes.
Wow.
Probably has the Guinness Book of World Records. I'm telling you.
Wow. That
When
is
he
amazing.
when he delivered his first baby, the baby wasn't breathing. It was purple. He had to do a procedure to help the baby breathe.
Oh.
When the baby started to breathe, and EMT finally showed up, after he handed the baby to EMT, he had to run outside because he was hysterically crying.
Mm.
And he calls me, and there's a police officer. And he calls me and he says, Dad, he tells me what happened. And I said, you should be happy. He said, Dad, don't you get it? If George Steinbrenner doesn't do for you what he did, I'm not here today.
Hmm.
And that baby dies.
Right.
And that was heavy.